The Newsday continues here in One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The Labor Department says there are no wage hikes expected this coming Labor Day. The agency said this in response to labor unions' call for an increase in minimum wages in the country. The Labor Department says there are 8 petitions for wage hikes that have been filed and assures they are not deaf to workers' pleas for a wage hike. According to Labor Chief Benny Laguesma, the government is looking for ways to respond to calls for higher wages so that workers will no longer have to file petitions.
Ating pong Kongreso na kung saan pwede rin po silang magpasa ng batas na in a sense, amendahan po yung umiiral na batas na ang pagdadagdag ng sweldo sa minimum po.
President Marcos directs the Tourism Department to assess non-operating tourism zones under the Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority or TIEZA. The palace says such assessment will help boost the country's tourism industry. The President issued the directive during a meeting with the Private Sector Advisory Council's Tourism Sector Group, where they presented updates on previous recommendations and new proposals to improve the tourism sector. Marcos said that although he is happy with the recommendations, he believes TIEZA's problem seems to be its non-operating properties. TIEZA is a government-owned and controlled corporation attached to the DOT. It is responsible for implementing policies and programs for the development, promotion, and supervision of tourism projects in the country. As of March, the country has welcomed 1.1 million international tourist arrivals, or 24% of the 4.8 million target for the year. Amid the looming El Nino phenomenon, President Marcos signed an executive order creating a Water Resources Management Office under the Environment Department. The EO states that the office shall primarily be responsible for integration and harmonization of government efforts to ensure availability of water resources in the country. The WRMO is also mandated to, quote, ensure the immediate implementation of the integrated water resources management in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and formulate a corresponding water resources master plan. The office will be headed by an undersecretary to be appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the DENR Secretary. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. President Bongbong Marcos vows for consistent implementation of infrastructure projects. As part of that promise, he led the contract signing for portions of North-South Commuter Railway on Thursday. The project aims to cut travel time from Clark International Airport to Calamba, Laguna from 4 hours to just 2 hours.
The completion of the full NSCR line will bring greater convenience for our commuters. We expect not only decongestion along our main thoroughfares, especially within Metro Manila, but also faster travel times for commuters in general.
Aside from public convenience, Marcos Jr. said the NSCR is expected to bring more economic activities in connected areas. The project, worth over 873 billion pesos, would accommodate around 800,000 passengers daily by as early as 2029.
The railway will also spur economic activities in the interconnected regions and in all the areas in between. Moreover, it will promote environmental sustainability and public health.
More than 400 Filipinos have been evacuated from Khartoum as the ceasefire in war-torn Sudan comes to a close on Thursday. Meanwhile, the Philippine Embassy in Cairo is waiting for more OFWs who are stranded at the Egyptian border. Camille Samonte tells us more.
The first batch of Filipino evacuees have successfully crossed the border of Sudan. Philippine Ambassador to Egypt Ezedin Tago welcomed at least 51 Filipino nationals who were initially stranded in the border. The process took several hours as the embassy had to manually issue travel documents.
Imagine po yung process kung gagawan namin ng travel document mano-mano sa karsada. It could take 5 to 10 minutes per travel document. And so that means if for about 10 travel documents, that's about a good hour. So a bus that has about 20 in travel documents na kailangan, that could result. So these are the challenges po.
The evacuees will be brought to Aswan to rest after their long travel. From Aswan, they will then transfer to Cairo to take a plane en route to the Philippines.
Yes, they've already taken the bus. They will be proceeding, as I had mentioned also earlier, they will be proceeding, pupunta na sila sa Aswan, kung saan nag-arrange po kami na manatili sila ng isang gabi or dalawa sa isang hotel. And then after that, may isa pang biyahes, hopefully by plane or by bus or train, papuntang Cairo. And from there, we are arranging for their flights out to the Philippines.
The embassy is still waiting for 350 Filipinos who are part of the second batch of evacuees waiting at the border. Tago said to expect long waiting hours as different nationals are still scrambling to cross from Sudan. They also advised Filipinos to bring food and water, citing lack of essential resources in the area.
I hope they are ready also with water and food, especially for the long journey, as well as yung wait done on the other side. Because kahit the facilities are really not provided. So we advise them na magdalang some supplies.
Even Migrant Worker Secretary Susan Ople and diplomatic officials also were not spared from the hassle in entering the border of Sudan and Egypt due to tight border control.
Requirement na may visa to enter. And right now, none of us sa DMW have the visas. We have diplomatic passports, but that's not enough. Ang totoo niyan, nahihirapan talaga. Hindi lang ang gobyerno natin, kung hindi pati ibang gobyerno, including the Egyptian government.
Meanwhile, the government also said it is having problems renting buses that will fetch evacuees.
Dati, ang isang bus nasa 8,000 US. Ngayon, ang going rate nasa 30,000 US na.
The DMW secretary is now en route to Aswan, Egypt to attend to the first batch of evacuees. More than 400 Filipinos have already been evacuated. Meanwhile, the Philippine consulate in Jeddah is coordinating with the Saudi authorities for the evacuation of Filipinos traveling through Port of Sudan. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.